The Wicked Ridge Invader 400 crossbow. In this video, I'm going to review the Wicked Ridge Invader 400 crossbow. And in fact, I had the opportunity to assemble it before I got to shoot it. Assembly was very easy. It was just a matter of putting a few parts together and I was ready to go. Now it does come with a quiver, a 3-arrow quiver. There's two diameter arrow settings you could use for this quiver. There's also a little rubber loop for hanging it up when you're at your hunting spot. Now you can attach this either to the front of the bow or you could do it on the side. I prefer to just put it on the front. So there's a little rounded side. You're going to attach the bracket to the bow and then slide that in. And then it's just a matter of flipping the little clamp part over and it's secured in place. Let me give you one more angle of that. This is just a side view. There's our little clamp there. You just pull that open and then slide the quiver out when you get to your stand and you can hang it up. Some people just put the quiver right in their backpack, whatever you prefer. And there you go, it's locked back in place. Now you'll notice that the Wicked Ridge, the limbs and the stock, it's all camo. All Wicked Ridge and 10-point crossbows are made right here in the United States of America in Ohio. So if you're very patriotic and you want to buy products that are made right here in the United States of America, Wicked Ridge and 10-point is the way to go. So I want to give you a quick look at the trigger here. Now you're not supposed to pull the trigger unless you're shooting the bow at a target. I just want to give you an idea of the travel. So it's not quite like shooting a rifle. With a rifle, you don't have to pull the trigger hardly at all and it'll go off. There's a little bit of travel here. So you always want to make sure you practice and get used to your equipment, get used to the trigger. It's a very comfortable grip. I really enjoy the feel of this grip. And I'm going to get out there and do some shooting with this in a little bit. But first, let's finish going over the bow. The stock, where you hold the stock up there, it's a very comfortable grip there. There is the safety rails here. So when your fingers are on the stock, it's really, I couldn't even get my fingers up to where the string would be able to hit my fingers in the process of shooting, which is great safety. Even if I wanted to reach around those rails, I still couldn't get my fingers high enough to where they would be in the way of the string. So I really like the safety feature here. I'm especially happy about that for my kids because I'm going to get my kids shooting this bow really soon. So that's a great safety feature. Now the safety button is in a great location. You don't have to worry about accidentally bumping it, and you have to push it forward with your thumb in order to turn the safety off or on. Now here's the Accudraw, and one thing I noticed right away with the Accudraw, because I did review a 10-point crossbow in the past, the lever arm is so much more secure now than the original one. There's a little tab right in there that captures the lever arm very nicely. I really like the way this locks into place, and I shook it as hard as I could back and forth, and I couldn't get it to rattle loose. It really is nice in there. And then let me go over the cocking of this with the Accudraw. I was very impressed. So you want to disengage it. Here's the engage right here. So you ultimately you're going to disengage it in order to take the string out and attach it to the bowstring. It comes up over the scope. Now, I will mention, sure, it's going to make a little bit of noise, but with a crossbow, you're focused on getting one shot. In general, when you're crossbow hunting, there's very rarely you're going to get a second shot at an animal, and you shouldn't need it because they're very accurate. But anyway, the Accudraw, it fits very nicely over the stock here. There's a little piece on the front there that just fits right down into the groove of the stock very nicely and attaches to the bowstring. And then it's just a matter of using the lever arm and cranking it back. And it only takes 5 pounds of force to crank it, which even a child could do. And I'll probably make some videos with my kids shooting this and you'll see them cranking it back if I get a chance to do that. But it cranks back super nicely. So you crank it back, and when you're cranking it back, you want to make sure it's in the firing position. and it'll engage properly and put it automatically into the safe. Then you disengage the Accudraw, spin it back just a couple times, take the lever arm off, and then the cocking mechanism, you can just pop that off the string, comes right back around the scope and stows right into position very nicely. I really like the way it worked. All right, so now that the bow's cocked, it's ready to be fired. Now I did try to get, there is an anti-dry fire mechanism or inhibitor, anti-dry fire inhibitor in there, and I just couldn't get good video footage because the lighting. I tried, but if you read the owner's manual, you'll be able to learn about it. You want to make sure that the safety is in the firing position when you're cocking the bow. Otherwise, you could end up having it cocked onto the dry fire inhibitor. So just read the owner's manual on that. I really like this scope. It has two different lights, color lights in it. There's a green and a red, and you just turn it on with this piece right here. You just rotate the dial. You can increase the intensity of the light. Now, I did try to get a little bit of video of that, but you know what? I didn't get the greatest footage because of lighting, and I just didn't have the right equipment to give you a good rendition. But I'm trying to give you a little bit of footage. You see the lines in there for aiming at different distances, and then of course you can turn the light on, different brightnesses. I like the green. I really thought that looked really nice. And then you can dim it up a little bit depending on what lighting you're trying to shoot in. So for adjusting the scope, it's very easy. You have these protective covers. You just unscrew and you can do your vertical and your left and right. It's tool free, so it's just a matter of clicking or twisting this, and there's little clicks that it'll go for adjusting the height and the left to right, like I said. There's a little sound of the clicks. They do come pretty sighted in out of the box. I mean, it's pretty close. You may need to do a little bit of adjusting. All right, we're getting really close to going out and testing this on the firing range. But first, I just want to show you what happens if your hand slips off the cocking mechanism. It doesn't unwind. It just stops right there. So I just want to also measure the width of the bow when you have it fully cocked and also when it's in the decocked position. So when the bow is cocked, the outside edge of the cam to the outside edge of the cam is about 19 inches. When you're going axle to axle, you're just a hair over 15 inches. When you're measuring the outside edge of the cams when the bow is at rest, you're just a hair over 21 inches. Before doing some shooting though, you want to put some lube on the rail. And this stuff that I picked up is what they had at the local archery shop. And it's just called Snot. There's different types, different brands. But you always want to make sure you keep your rail lubed properly. This particular brand says about every 25 shots you're going to want to re-lube. And that just helps keep the string moving down the stock without any friction. And as far as price range, I mean, Wicked Ridge, their bows go from $399 to around $11.99. And in the lower price bracket, as far as having the Accudraw, it's really hard to beat. I mean, you really can't get a bow that will do what these bows can do unless you're going to have to buy something imported. Another nice thing too is that the customer service is right here in the United States as well. It's a family-owned company, and I just wanted to mention that for those of you who value those types of things. All right, now I've given you a little overview of the bow itself. Let's go outside. I want to do some shooting into the target, and then I'm going to come back in and shoot the bow through the chronograph. After that, I'll give you a final synopsis of my experience with this bow. I also want to remind you, if you're new to my channel, I typically give away about $4,000 worth of equipment in hunting gear each year. At least that's been the case the last few years. This year is no exception. I'm giving away 5 compound bows per month throughout the hunting season, as well as a snack time feeder every month of the season and a ground effect hunting seat. Go to the giveaways page of my Sean'sOutdoorAdventures.com website to get in on those giveaways. Now let's go shoot this bow and see how it performs. All right, so when I got out there, I just wanted to kind of get a feel for it with an arrow in there, and I liked the balance of it. It felt really good. I'm going to hold my arms against my body to try to help stabilize her. I'm going to stabilize the bow. I'm going to try to shoot this freehand and see how well I do. I've never really done much gun hunting in my life, so I don't have a lot of experience shooting a gun, but I got the general concept in my mind. I'm going to just brace my arms against my body, try to hold steady, and take a couple shots. Now I have two different targets up there you can see. One's Iron Will, the other one, the red one's by Morel. It's, I think it's called the High Roller. I'm going to do a separate review video on both of those. I just want to see which one's better for using with a crossbow. But I'm going to take a second shot here and just hold the bow steady with the little foothold there and crank it back. If you want to see the review video on the targets, make sure you stay tuned to my channel because that'll be in a separate video. I am going to measure how deeply the arrow goes into the target, and also how easy or difficult it is to pull out of the target. That's going to be part of the target review video. As you can see, my first shot was a bit high. That's probably a little bit of human error, my first time shooting in a long time. Second shot, just a little less high. Both are good left to right, so I was happy to see that. And so, you know, again, I don't have a whole lot of experience shooting a gun, but I know from shooting a bow that there is technique and you need to hold steady and calm and just, you know, really follow through with the shot. So I kind of did that and I did pretty well. Now I'm going to move back to 20 yards. Now that I know that the arrows are going to hit roughly where, you know, in the ballpark of where I'm aiming, I'm going to move back to 20 yards, take another shot. I'm going to take I made 5 clicks to the scope just to get those arrows to come down a little bit. So after 5 clicks, here is a shot. My neighbor's dog was barking quite extensively while I was taking those other shots, so I didn't have the volume on for those, but I think we'll be okay for this shot. I'm going to turn the volume up and listen to the bow as it goes off. All right, now what I'm going to do is zoom in on that so you can get a look at where that arrow hit. And as you can see, it was a pretty good shot. You know, I mean, for shooting freehand, not leaning on anything, and, you know, my third shot with a crossbow in years, that could take an animal right there. With a little fine tuning, I'm going to really get this thing dialed in. All right, let's go ahead inside and shoot through the chronograph. I'm going to use 2 different weight arrows, 406 grains for the light arrow and 464 grains for the heavier arrow. Okay, I'm going to start with the 464 grain arrow. The chronograph has a light kit to make sure it gets good sensitivity in the indoor. .344 feet per second. Okay, this is the 406 grain arrow. So almost 60 grains less. .365. I gotta say, I am overall impressed with this bow. This is the first crossbow I've ever had. And the reason I got it is my son just turned 10. I want to get him out hunting. He's getting ready to get to that point, but he just can't pull a bow with enough draw weight to be able to hunt with. So this is going to give us the opportunity to get out. Now, we live in Iowa, and they do not allow the use of crossbows, even for kids, until the late muzzleloader season. So he and I are going to try to get out in the late muzzleloader season. Stay tuned. I'm also going to try my first crossbow hunt with this bow in the late muzzleloader season this year in Iowa. So again, stay tuned for that. However, I'm very curious. A company just asked me to review their night vision scope. So I'm actually going to try mounting the night vision scope on this and see how it works. Maybe even see if we can get out after some coyote at nighttime with the crossbow. I like the bow. I really enjoy it. The sight, the scope, I was very impressed with that. The way that it lights up, you have 2 different colors to pick from. The Accudraw system, 5 pounds is all. My son's going to be able to do this. And I'll probably make some videos with my kids shooting this bow if we have some time later next month, and just get him used to shooting. Again, if you want to see the review video between the 2 targets that I used for this bow, stay tuned to my channel for that. Make sure you subscribe. Like this video, by the way. Share it with other people. Get in on the giveaways. And if you want to check out the Wicked Ridge line, I would highly recommend it. I actually really enjoy this bow, and I'm proud that it's made in America. Also, the giveaways with the snack time feeder and the ground effects hunting seat that I'm giving away, both of those companies are owned by our military veterans. So very proud of that. So check out the Wicked Ridge line. Also 10 Point, same company, like the same owners. Check out the 10 Point line. Wicked Ridge is definitely going to get us out in the woods, me and my son, this year. Stay tuned for that. Until then, take care.